What I wanted to do is just give you guys the opportunity to introduce yourselves, please, and just say why you're here. And I'm going to start with the person who's come the furthest. So, Rebecca, if you just give us a quick snapshot of what you do, about your business, and what you're doing here at ChangeNOW.
Amazing. Hello. I am co-founder and CEO of Better Packaging, and we launched Better Packaging in 2018 with a desire to make packaging better. And neither Kate, my business partner, or I had any packaging experience, which looking back is kind of crazy. But it was also a really good thing because we came at it without any preconceived ideas of what packaging should be. We launched a home compostable courier satchel that year and had an incredibly successful, fast-growing business, but realised sort of a couple of years into it that it wasn't enough just to reduce the impacts of packaging. We had to and needed to do more. We'd really focused on making things, what we sort of say, less bad, but we realised we could actually use packaging to make a whole lot of positive impact. And so we went back to the drawing board and started again and created a new product made out of ocean-bound plastic pollution. We launched it 2 years ago, and we're working with communities in Southeast Asia to collect pollution from their beaches and waterways, and we're turning it into packaging. We've removed over 1 million kilos of pollution, and that number's just growing really quickly. So super excited to see the previous presentation because it's right up my alley.
Brilliant, thank you, Rebecca. Now, Vincent, give us a quick overview, please.
Yes, good morning. So I'm working for CITEO, the Green Dot organization in France. We organize the collection and sorting of household packaging in France. And my job is to help brand owners, retailers, recyclers, all the value chain to improve the packet product on the market. So they develop reusable packaging, develop recyclable packaging, and decrease the environmental impact. We're working on the material, move out plastic, for example, or keep plastic because it's the best material for your packaging. So that's my job, day by day, and at French level, at European level. And ChangeNOW is a great opportunity to keep on working with all the value chain, with all innovators, because we need it to find new solutions and new partnership to develop such packaging.
And Vincent, before I invite Olivier, you are funded by the state or funded by the brands? How do you, because you're a big organization, aren't you?
Yes, it's a big organization in France because we finance most of all the yellow bin in France. So the bin to sort all the packaging and to develop the recycling. And we are funded with private fund. Only the brand owners pay, and brand owners and retailers pay for the system, finance the whole system. So that's an interesting model we want to promote worldwide.
Okay, thank you. And Olivier, please.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Olivier Cotinat. I'm a serial entrepreneur and educator. I've been teaching innovation and entrepreneurship for about 20 years now. And MoHo is my last, probably most ambitious project based on one conviction, one belief, that the problem that we need to face and we need to solve right now are so complicated, so complex. Plastic is one of the many challenges that we have, that only a diverse group of expertise, of people or energy can solve it. So we got very inspired by a very important coalition in history, the D-Day, so during the World War II, where all these guys from 12 countries, they got united together to change the course of history, putting apart their differences. And concretely what we do, we want to create this coalition with people with a common goal. So we mix corporates, startups, NGOs, governments all together, trying to not only educate all the people that are required to solve the problem, but also concretely act to do that. So for that, we have two assets. So we have an amazing space. So we picked, obviously, like the biggest city near the D-Day beaches in Normandy, in Caen. It's really really an amazing space. I really encourage each of you to visit. And we create this coalition. And on the plastics part, we actually are going to announce today that we are creating a coalition with the BCG, so the Boston Consulting Group, and UC Berkeley, to collectively try to find solutions to try to address the plastic space.
Amazing. And I hear the space is really, really sensational. So I guess we can all come and visit.
You're all invited, and it's really it's always better when others says it, but it's really an awesome space, yeah.
And let's talk just, Olivier, just to carry on, talk a bit about the campus and the education side of things. And are you, how does that work? Is it a new generation of thinking that's coming through? Is it educating the grand public, or how do you, and to explain, you've got 300 students in
I mean, it's a kind of mix. So, so I've been very involved in education, like I was saying, in France and in the US for 20 years. And it's at the same time, I think we need to upskill and reskill some people in the business so that they realize the impact of their choices and the options that are available on the market. But also, I'm always, very impressed by the energy and the desire of the newer generation. So in our space, it's really like an overview of what we do overall. So we have 300 students that it's their campus, and they are really surrounded by startups, by corporates, by nonprofits, and we have a completely open and free space when we educate the grand public, so all citizens, and it's really by this systemic approach. Like plastic, for me, it's like almost the best example of systemic, because you need to really work people together to have a change to solve the problem, because there's no easy solution for that. Yeah. So education is really a core of what we're trying to do.
And I'm going to just keep on this theme, and I'm going to go to Vincent, because what I think you were telling me last week is you're spending a lot of time with the brands and you're helping them innovate. And what we saw on the film is not a huge brand, but brands saying, we're creating this problem, we need to sort it out. In the brands that you're working with, are they ticking boxes, or are they really trying to sort this out?
No, they try. They try to solve the problem. So just imagine at the moment we evaluate that we have 65% approximately of recyclable plastic packaging on the market in Europe or in US. So that's the evaluation from Ellen MacArthur, but we have quite the same evaluation by CITEO. And we have in place actions to move to 90% in 1 or 2 years. So it's very quick change on the market to reach 90%. And after that, we keep on working on the 10% by eco-design, maybe with innovation in sorting, in recycling plants, to reach 100% recyclable packaging. Yeah. Just an example. And on reusable packaging, if you talk about reuse very quickly, a lot of brands work with us to try to develop reusable packaging on the market. But you have a lot of things to develop. The washing. We have not very good rules at European level, no regulation for washing of packaging, so we help them to have an harmonized rules system for washing packaging and develop the reusable in France or in Europe.
Yeah, okay, so moving, Rebecca, you were telling me a little bit earlier about your relationship with brands in New Zealand and how you started your business working with, I think, with fashion companies. So effectively, you're creating packaging for companies that want to do this better, right? And how did that go? How's the investment? What's happening? Are people really committed? Is it because you're a startup effectively, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, majority of our business is outside of New Zealand, which is quite interesting. But to begin with, in the early stages, it was definitely the small to medium businesses that got on board and made those changes really quickly. If it wasn't for those companies, we wouldn't still be here. But we've seen a real shift in the last couple of years as larger corporations are getting on board. But they take a long time to move, because it's not just one person making a decision, it's cross departments. So you're looking at marketing, it's got to be functional, so it might go through the supply chain, and then finance gets involved at the last minute, so cost is always a big part of it. But we are starting to see some of those bigger brands come on board, but we really believe that we need more legislation and policy changes to even the playing field, because virgin plastic's been around for such a long time and it's so well priced that it's really hard to compete at that really higher end of town with those larger corporations due to price.
So I was moderating a session yesterday on planetary boundaries, and two things strike me from what you just said. One was a CEO who was saying, of the guy from Arçelik, he was saying, you really need to invest ahead. So you need to spend a lot of more money now, and the finance guys need to get on board and see all this as an investment, which I would advocate, because there is more value at the other end. And the second thing, which was Sandrine from the Club of Rome was saying, actually, iteration's no good. We need to jump, and we need to shift to we need to reset the whole thing and kind of reboot. And that means innovation, Vincent. So tell us how you, because I think there's amazing solutions here in ChangeNOW, and more than I think many more than last year. And you are scanning and scouting for those solutions. And Olivier, I'll come to you in a second. But how do you think about innovation? How do you think about finding solutions? How do you think about funding solutions? Tell us about that ecosystem within the CITEO framework.
Yes, we observe a lot of innovation on sorting, recycling, or eco-design of packaging, or reusable packaging. And here we have to find the information and help the companies to develop the solution. The first stage the first step is just to promote the solution. And after that, but it's not enough. Yeah. After that, we have to conduct projects with them. For example, when you develop, we have some innovation, but it's a paper cup without any plastic. So you know that if you put some beverage or water in a paper, it doesn't work. So you add a plastic layer inside. Here, we don't have plastic. We develop it with the Centre du Papier in France. It's an innovation, not yet on the market. It's called chromatogeny. We want to develop it. The first stage is to pass the regulation on food contact. So we have to build a strong elements for authorities to have the evaluation on food contact. So and it's very huge. It's very costly. So we need brand owners. We need a CITEO. We need different kind of companies, all partners, to finance that, to help such innovation, to hope that this innovation reach the market. We hope that we have for the next Olympic Games, for example.
Going to be ready for the Olympics?
I don't know.
We try. I think we should make a plan that it should be. And so effectively what you're saying, which I think is a common theme here in ChangeNOW, is it's not just one actor who is going to make this happen. Is it a startup who's created that, come up with that idea, or your lab?
No, it's a technical center from the paper industry, the ID, and we accelerate the innovation.
So you're catalyzing with CITEO's resources. Yes. With the brand owners, trying to get someone to launch it, trying to get someone to invest in it. Is that how it's? Yes, with the technical center. And another example is on these kind of trays is PET. It's two startups, Fairbricks. You find Fairbricks in the room, and Recycle Elite. And generally, plastic packaging are made with petrol, and here is made with CO2. So we capture the emission of a plant, an industrial plant, and we produce plastics with that. So it's recyclable. So it's not yet on the market. Maybe it's the future. Maybe we need such kind of plastic, not all the plastic we have today, because we have a lot of pollution due to plastic, etc. We have but maybe some packaging will maintain in plastic in the future, and why not using CO2 and not petrol? Absolutely, brilliant. Thank you. I think we should race for both of those before the Olympics. Yes. if possible. And are the regulators slowing you down? Or are they? No, generally companies start with engagement, with a voluntary proposition, and after that the regulatory come after and accelerate. Yeah, okay. So that's the situation in France, that's the situation in Europe. So we have an ongoing discussion at Brussels to have European regulation now on packaging, and especially on plastic packaging. So yes, it will accelerate to remove all the packaging which are not will not fit with environmental future and circularity. Okay, thank you. And Olivier, I'm imagining your workspace. I haven't been, unfortunately, but how do you encourage that sort of getting together? How do you cross-pollinate? Just give us a sort of an idea of how you're doing that, and maybe some case studies of things that are coming out. Well, first of all, not everything happens in our space. So space is just one of the assets. So obviously when you work with UC Berkeley and the BCG, not everybody is going to move to Caen normally, even though it's a great place. So there's a lot of things that are happening globally, so everyone. So just to comment on what Vincent was saying, I think we need a mix between iteration, because it has to be fast, and if there is a quick win, we need to make it happen. But if we want really to solve the plastic, it's a mix of disruption. We need completely to change the way we think about it, and especially I always say the best plastic is the one that you don't produce. So we also need, there's some low-tech solutions, like how to rethink packaging
or reduce packaging totally. That would be very, very useful. I think when you talk to all industry players, you feel that they even asking for regulation. So as you may know, there's like the big negotiation, like a global worldwide negotiation starting on Monday here in Paris with the United Union. So it's 150 countries and all the big players in the plastic space that are going to be here to find a regulation. And I think it's something also very useful because when you look back, innovation in general, you need constraints. So more constraint you have, and the more you need to find new innovative way to create it. And also one thing which was really striking to me, so I'm not a plastic expert per se, I'm like more innovation expert somehow. And what was very striking to me is the lack of co-design between all the players. So you have the one that create the plastic, the one that you use the plastic. So you have Coke, L'Oréal, etc., and you have the one to recycle the plastic. And it was very surprising to me that they don't work very fluently all together. And I think it's a part of what we try to do is really to align people so that they have a common agenda, and regulation help for the common agenda. And then with our expertise, with our process, we try to make them work together. So we bring some experts, we bring even some people that are really have completely opposite point of view. And that's a little bit the secret sauce that we are trying to bring. So there's a lot of coalition, left and right, but our conviction is that we need new kind of coalition, putting on the table not only industry players from the same space, but the whole value chain all together, even people that have opposing point of view. And it's the more you put them together, so you need to put them together in the same room, in the same space at one point, but we learn also with COVID that there's a lot of things that can do remotely. So we try to find this mix between moment where we mix physically people. We try to bring even the newest generation. So we have been doing a class for about 3 years now at UC Berkeley in the College of Engineering, where we invite students from all the college. So you have engineers, designers, med school doctors, etc. And they work. So we teach them circular thinking. We leverage a lot all the work that has been done by CITEO and the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, for example, to teach them the framework, etc. And then they work on real cases provided by companies. So we work, for example, with Samsung, Whole Food Markets, Microsoft, etc. And that's the mix of all those initiatives for me that has a chance to try to find the good ideas. I think Vincent just showed very interesting lead to solution, but also what I learned about plastic and ecology in general is that sometimes you have a great idea, so you think you solve the problem, but in fact you create a much bigger problem than the initial problem. So the thing is what's very, very complicated for plastic. So we had some amazing option that was available at one point, but then we realized that if you want to scale it and make it available for France, for Europe, or for the world, then the problem that you would generate was actually bigger than the one at the beginning, and that's something very, very challenging when you do so. That's, I think, regulation also is very important on that aspect, because we must expect our policymakers to have, let's say, the overview of what could be seen, but my belief it's really by mixing different point of view, different part of the ecosystem and all the value chain of plastic that we can have a chance, because there's a tons of very, very scary statistic. I think it's in 25 years you're going to have more plastic in the ocean than fishes. So, and there's microplastic also. There's a lot of issue about it. So we thought for a while that it was better to recycle the plastic for clothing, but then realized that when you wash your clothes, then you're gonna put microplastic all over, and that's the mess that we are right now. So we need to be very careful, and I'm still very optimistic because I would not be here if not. But I really believe that in general, and that's what we are going to try to achieve with MoHo, is creating this very hybrid international coalition that you can have a change to move the status quo and try to move forward to find solutions.
Amazing, thank you. That was a lot of stuff in there, but very good. And what I love is the entrepreneur's approach, and I think we've got amazing kind of teams that Vincent you've got in CITEO, but you've also got entrepreneurs looking at it from a different point of view, which I think that kind of mix is very important. And Rebecca, you're an entrepreneur, so tell us a little bit how would you massively accelerate what you're doing? What do you need?
Yeah, we need brands to get on board. As many, we've done the innovation, we've done the science and the technology. It's there, it works. We're making it on scale. We now just need to 100x it pretty much. And that's going to take the big corporations because that's where the change happens. We've got packaging for the whole supply chain, from pallet wrap all the way down to little tiny bags. So we need everyone to get on board and adopt these new technologies.
So that's a very strong call to action, and it's not the first time I've heard or experienced, because we're a little business, and actually getting the brands to get on board is it's exciting and it's positive because the solutions are there. So it is a really good news story, and solutions like ours don't only make environmental impact, they also make social impact, as we saw earlier. So it is a good news story. It's not all doom and gloom, but it just takes action. But we need to go fast.
Fast. We don't have 2 or 3 years,
exactly.
Which is what it's taking at the moment. It can take a big brand up to 3 years to move.
Vincent, can you help move that faster for us?
Yes, I try to do that. So CITEO, today the CITEO perimeter is in France only. So I work with brand owners at European level or worldwide, because the design of a packaging sometimes is not defined in France, designed in US, designed in New Zealand or whatever, and I have to help here. But yes, that's our model, CITEO, but we have an equivalent model in other European countries or in Canada, Israel or whatever. So it's just a good idea to have all the brand owners or retailer all together to find solutions, finance actions. So that's why you mentioned the discussion in UNESCO with UNEP to solve the plastic problem at the moment. But yes, the model of eco-organisms, companies will manage the waste and help eco-design with all the brand owners around the table. Yes, that's a good model to help you in New Zealand, but help India, we saw on the first-hand speech.
I mean, I have to say, Vincent, it's so impressive that, the CITEO is here, and it's you've got the funding, you're in France, in the market. I'd love you to go global. You need to be everywhere, because this is how the acceleration happens, right? Any plans for going global?
No, at the moment. It's not my part in CITEO, but not at the moment. We focus on France. We have a lot to do in France to develop the first stage is on Europe. So at the moment, for just an example, at the moment we have the recyclability rules for brand owners very different from a country to another. So it's a nightmare. I have 40 different rules in Europe today when I'm a packaging converter and brand owners to develop the packaging to fit with sorting plant and recycling plants. It's a nightmare. So CITEO takes the lead at European level, and we try to harmonize the rules with the European Commission through standardization. So that's a good idea. We can do that, promote, and we bring a lot of packaging converters and brand owners from France, but from Europe in the group to work all together and find consensus to develop the new guidelines, harmonized guidelines.
Brilliant, thank you. I need, with the clocks going red now.
Just want to say we need finance, more finance also. VCs.
So it's interesting. It's one of the big points, and there seem to be more investors in this here. But are they putting their money where they're? Are they just looking, or are they spending? I don't know if there are any investors around here, but you do have to have a bit of risk, and I think in the investment community there's often a bit of adversity to risk, and this is really important. And the good news is that impact is going to be more valuable in the long term, maybe even in the medium term. So that investment coming through, and it's great to see big brands, spending the money, but it'd be nice to see the investment community really going for it as well. So I have now, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to ask the audience one thing when they leave here. What do you want them to do? And I'm going to start with you, Olivier, because you've been thinking about it for a couple of days.
I think it's try to work with people that are different point of view than yourself, so that you can learn from each other and try to make action.
It's fantastic.
And try, fail, and try again.
Keep going. Brilliant. Rebecca?
Well, I think we all vote with our wallets every day. So think about what you're spending your money on and the purchases you're making. where you're putting that money would be my call to action.
Thank you. And Vincent?
We have to decrease the amount of single-use packaging. We have to decrease the amount of single-use plastic packaging. And for that, we need you. So please, if you have good idea, if you have project to move to single-use, to reusable packaging, to develop less impact, packaging with less impact, please come to us. We try to work to make the connection with brand owners, with all the value chain to develop with them. So please, don't hesitate.
Amazing. Well, so if anyone's there, Vincent's your man. So I'm going to say thank you to these guys, Olivier, Rebecca, and Vincent.